Just one strategy which completely changed my attitude towards trading. I was close to giving up, but at the last moment I realized everything. Now, after 5 years of profitable trading on Forex, I'm ready to share this realization. My plan is universal and suitable for both scalping and intraday trading. So before we move on to reviewing the trades that I also post on my free Telegram channel, I want to introduce you to the most basic things that will be used in our strategy today. By the way, the reviewing of the trades I will be making today has been published publicly. You can view them by simply going to my channel by the link from the description. There is a lot of interesting content here. I share my results and will now explain how I do it. Look, let's visualize this picture. Imagine that I have just drawn a daily candlestick. Here we have an ordinary Japanese candlestick with a time frame equals 1 day. Accordingly, this candlestick has a certain maximum and a certain minimum. So we have just defined 2 key levels that we will be working with today. This is a resistance level, which is at the top, and in this zone we have a huge number of sellers, and we also have a buyer level, that is, it is a support zone, which is at the bottom, and here we have a lot of buyers. At the same time, the chart may look completely different during the day, but here, for example, is a picture where we have a maximum and a minimum. After the day ends, a new day begins, a new trading session, the stock market rises and falls again, but we are waiting for 2 key moments: reaching the lower and upper levels in order to open trades, either downward here or upward right here. This is our simple strategy for today. In this strategy, we will be helped by a very cool indicator that can highlight all these maximums and minimums in advance. This indicator has a very simple name. In the Trading View terminal, we go to the search and type in it. Here is the name of this indicator, added from this sorter. It has 3000 users. Now the most important thing is to configure it correctly. Go to settings and enter the time 0.00 to 23.45 and set the UTS zone +0. That's it. Click Save. Now every day the necessary minimums and maximums are highlighted for us so that we don't have to do it ourselves. Now let's move on to analyzing trades. So right now we are going to look for a trade in real time. Let me remind you again what we are going to do today. We will only use a rectangle to open trades. You may say, yes, this is crazy, it's too simple, it doesn't work. But friends, it does work because it is very simple and understandable. And most importantly, it should be simple and understandable for you too. Because otherwise, you will not learn how to open confident trades. The more trades you open, the more you will understand the mechanics of the stock market and how to work with it. But you have a bunch of indicators, a bunch of unnecessary information that clogs your head and prevents you from making money. Look, what we need to understand, we have identified the maximum and minimum of the previous day. Now we have a new day forming with its own boundaries, which we are not paying attention to yet. Our key boundaries are the current minimum and maximum. So far, the stock market is growing. We are somewhere in the middle between sellers and buyers. And the most important thing is to remember that we are not looking for trades here. Candlestick patterns in the middle of the trading range does not work. Indicators does not work. We are waiting for the stock market to reach one of the key zones. For us, the nearest zone is a seller zone, that is here. On the previous day, a bunch of sellers did not allow such an impulse to go higher. That is, at this point, our upward movement stopped, which means that a huge number of sellers concentrated at this point, causing us to even update the previous day's minimum. Look at the movement we have after that. Now let's go back to our chart. The most important thing we need to do is to look for the confirming factors, which are necessary for trading. We are now approaching the seller zone. And at this point, any indicator of buyer weakness could work in our favor. So here I'm well aware that we have the chart is growing along the trend line for a long period of time. Here is the first trend line, and here is the second trend line. Now we have broken through this trend line, and we are essentially at the trend reversal point. Most importantly, we also have a candlestick pattern here, namely a bearish engulfing pattern. Here we have a rising candlestick. Here is a falling candlestick that engulfs all the previous declines. Accordingly, the road to the lower border is now open. That's why after this pattern, I immediately decide to publish the signal. So once again, in the free channel by the link from the description, you can receive such signals and copy them not only manually, but even automatically by connecting to my account. Well, let's get back to placing the position. The imbalance zone indicator will also help me with this. this, or you can turn it on and see what uncovered imbalance zones we have left. And here I realize that I would like to play the stop a little higher, but at the same time, in order to make the risk-reward ratio more comfortable, I want to set as a target the update of this local minimum, from which all this growth originated. So now the trade looks quite comfortable for me. Let's see how it closes. After some time we see a drop from the upper border, I mean from the maximum value of the previous day, and on this wonderful trade I earned this much. The analysis of the next signal from my open channel is also very simple. Very little time has passed, literally the next day. We also visually mark the upper border that interests us and the lower border that we are also very interested in. Look, because of the fact that I have been trading for a long time, sometimes I notice moments like this. Here we have an ascending wedge forming. It has a good upper and lower boundary to try to trade it, so let's see how the situation will be developed. Look, my friends, we're exiting from the wedge, plus we have practically updated the previous day's maximum. Of course, it is not necessary to update it, but if we have updated, then there is a 100% signal. Here is a good signal at the exit from this wedge. I understand perfectly well that I can only set a stop at the beginning of this decline, because I cannot afford a very long stop here. Although if we turn on our balance zone indicator, I understand that, for example, the lower limit of our daily range is a good target for our decline. At least our chart should fall to the beginning of this wedge, although this is only the lower boundary of the current day, and in fact the lower boundary is much lower, and only from this boundary we would open an upward positions. So we have a 1-2 risk trade, which is a good trade. So let's see how it works out. The trade works out instantly, practically in a few candlesticks. The signal was given on time, so those who were watching the post in the channel at that moment could easily open the same good trade that I opened, instant working out. This is how much profit this trade brought me, and this pattern, namely the ascending wedge, worked only because we were close to the key area of interest. There is no point in looking for these patterns in the middle of the range, or somewhere, let's say, here or in the middle of the previous day's range. You must clearly understand that you have an upper boundary where you are going to sell and a lower boundary where you are going to buy. You don't even trade anything else until you have gained your own experience with this strategy. Trust me, many years ago only this strategy helped me finally get out of the red to the profit. And all this happens only because for the first time in my life I started to simplify my trading instead of complicating it. Thank you all for watching this video. As always, I will leave a link to my free Telegram channel with signals in the description below this video. Well, we'll see you again very soon.